well, looking at the events now from this past Saturday, I think the first things first is it was absolutely like an awesome event all around, both upper class and underclass. Just a ton of talent, a ton of crazy metrics like Brady Bunick throwing 95, which we'll get into. Just stats like that coming across the board that were just awesome to see, and it allowed us to get a lot of new information on or updated information on these guys that maybe we hadn't seen for a while or something like that. But just looking at like some of the crazy stats in underclass, I'll just rattle them off, and if you guys have anything, feel free just to chip in. But 35 guys in the under, or 34 guys were over 95 mile an hour exit velocity in underclass. 14 guys had over a 90 mile an hour average exit velocity. 36 guys had over 85 mile an hour on the mound. 19 guys ran a sub 760, and 17 guys were above 26 inches on their vertical jump. And then looking at upper class, we had 21 guys over 100 mile an hour max EV. We had 36 guys over a 90 mile an hour average EV. 55 guys above 85 mile an hour on the mound. 28 guys above or that were sub 7 runners. And then we had 28 guys that jumped above a 26-inch vertical for upper class. So some really interesting stat numbers there, and I mean, just a lot of dudes.
No, I'm just listening to you rattle off those numbers, Gavin, and thank you for doing that. I think my biggest takeaway is just like the way the game of baseball is trending, and it's super noticeable. It's all about throwing hard and hitting the ball far and hitting the ball hard, and I think guys are training for it more and more than they ever have before, and the tools that these guys are possessing at such a young age is just kind of remarkable to see. And I will say, like, alongside that, like, the one thing that I just hope these players, realize is, like, we're still looking for good swings. We want to mention, hey, all these tools, all these stats that came out of the event, and it was kind of mind-blowing, like some of the stuff we're seeing these days. But I will say over the weekend, more than I have seen in the past, like I've never seen so many guys selling out in BP for exit velocities, for trying to get these batted ball numbers. And I get it from where they sit. That is going to get noticed when you pop a triple digit exit velocity. But we're looking at how easy are you getting to that exit velocity? What kind of feel do you have to hit? How balanced is it? How repeatable is it? And that to me, like today, we're going to talk about, hey, guys we liked. And yeah, there's going to be some guys we liked that had some big numbers, but we're looking at swings. We're looking at athletes. I love that you threw in the max jump heights. Because when you start really breaking down a player, and the reason we do all that stuff is we're trying to find athletes that, have functional strength. So, okay, who is that guy running a good 60? Who is that guy with a good jump height? But then also, maybe we really liked the swing and the exit velocity, matched up with all that. So who's kind of checking off all these boxes and not just, hey, I put up really good measurables. Like, let's make sure we're still taking quality, BP rounds with feel, with polish is something that I hope these guys just don't get lost on. Because at Joliet on Sunday, I was sitting there watching hitters all day, and I will say it was by far the most I've ever seen guys selling out for some exit velo. But crazy stats, unbelievable talent. What's so awesome about it, Gavin, is like I guarantee you when we get done with the future games in August, we'll look back. I bet 80% of our team, was made up of guys that ended up coming to the All-State. The amount of follows that we're getting out of this event is just crazy. The amount of arms we're going to have to go track down, the amount of position players. And then you look at some of these freshmen coming up and what they're already doing. It was a special day on Saturday at the Max where we did see, 300 plus of the best up and coming 26s through 28s in the state of Illinois.
Yeah. And before we get into the position players, I'll give a little precursor. You guys feel free to jump in too, but we're going to talk about some of like our I guess biggest takeaways from the event, biggest, players that showed well, obviously, but we're going to have a quick hit story, multiple different quick hit stories for the events and kind of breaking down committed players, uncommitted players, by class, I think is what we talked about. I'm not exactly sure. We have it completely laid out exactly how we're gonna do
Oh,
it.
it's never been more dialed in right here.
All right,
No.
go for it, Drew.
No, I think it's super hard, right? Like we just went through 400 guys on the weekend, 300 from all state, and the beautiful thing for us is the way that we track all of our grades on guys throughout an event. Like it's in a Google sheet. It is easily, toggleable. Yeah, look at that and see if that's a word. Yeah, but like we can toggle guys up and down. So that's the fun of it is like getting through this event. We saw what we saw in person, but then to see like, oh, what did Gavin put on him, on a mound, or what did Peter have on this guy hitting, or, what did Tyler have on this guy defensively, and then marrying all of our eyes from the event in our Google sheet that we use, trying to figure out, okay, early impressions, like who were some of the top prospects. And yeah, we did try to, somewhat organize it, especially for the underclass. But we'll see as we go, Gavin. I'm sure I'll mess it up and jump around and do things I'm not supposed to. So you'll have to keep me in line over here.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll get into underclass first. We're going to kind of break it down positionally. So I think the first guys here, we are looking at position players, biggest winners from the 2027 class. So him, I know you were locked in on hitting all day. I was kind of hit or miss back and forth between that and pitching. So I know you saw most of it. So I'll let you go ahead, get in here, some of your favorite guys, and maybe we can chip in along the way.
Sure. Yeah, I think we can start here with Jackson Tucker. I mean, one of the more interesting frames walking around, just like ultra athletic, ultra lean, ultra projectable. He just keeps getting better too. He's long been that really reliable athletic glove on the infield. And the swing is like it just keeps getting better. I thought it was really short and handsy, super athletic, obviously, with balance and pretty easy effort. And he uses his levers really well too, being that big, controls it well. He was up to 99 miles an hour for the EV, which is not surprising looking at like how long and lanky he is. But he also had a 374-foot max distance, so I was really, taken away or taken back by his round of BP. That's kind of been like not his weakness, but like there was obvious, strides that could be made there to bring his prospect status, to the next level, and it looks like he's starting to take that step for me.
And I think oh, sorry, Drew.
You may be saying the same thing I'm saying. I don't know. The one thing that I really was blown away by was him running the 60. He ran a sub 6.7, like I want to say it was a 6.67, and watching him run, like the actual gait, ultra easy, long strided, looked like he was barely breaking a sweat. Really impressed me, just the athlete that he is. But go ahead, Gavin.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I don't know if Oswego East basketball, it's still in the season if they lost recently, but he's a basketball player. He was in the middle of the basketball season. If they are still playing, and that's just something to note too. Good athlete. I saw he scored like 13 points, 14 points a week or two ago. So
well, and one quick note, like we're talking about some of these position players, some of the biggest winners from the 2027. I think a common theme that we're gonna find as we talk about all the 2027s that were there, almost every guy was a part of the super sophomore games. Team Illinois last year, like a bunch of these high level 27s that we're going to talk about. Whether it's Jackson Tucker, Gavin Stanislawski, I see some other names on this list. I don't want to, steal all the thunder, but really, really cool to see, especially when you package them in against all these other really good 27s. Like, man, we had a heck of a team down there. Now, that did take place over the weekend where IHSA was throwing us for a bit of a curveball there with the all-star team rule that they had at that present moment. But everything got sorted out. We're all back in business. And let's go on to this next bat here, Hammett, because I was up in the cage at that time when he was hitting, and it was one of the, I didn't see all the bats on the day, but it was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, and he's like a perfect example of what you were talking about, right? Like, there's a difference between selling out and putting up an impressive EV and versus like actually hitting and showing your stroke. And I think Dylan McCabe from St. Charles East has one of the more pretty, fluid swings in the state for his age, and he's got a ton of upside. I think he gets good length through the zone too. That's something that you obviously want that. You want your barrel through the zone as long as possible so you can have a better chance of hitting the baseball. That's not always the easiest thing to teach, but there's still a lot more left in that frame and in the swing too, but he was up to 94 miles an hour. So So, not too shabby there at all.
Well, and I liked him on the mound as well. Like, I thought there's real upside there. He's a southpaw. Has some real feel to pitch too for this age. Like, nothing's gonna jump off the page like velo wise or anything right now, which is totally okay. Again, I thought he had some real feel to pitch. Was throwing. He had a 3-pitch mix and he could throw strikes. So no, I really like Dylan on the mound as well going forward.
And I know Coach Suter over there at St. Charles East raves about him defensively at first base. Just that the glove is really good, picking everything. So that is a name we're going to have to be out to watch this spring. And pretty much every guy we mention is going to be a high follow for us, and definitely on our hit list here come mid-March, which is right around the corner. Josh Morgan, outfielder, Fenwick, no stranger to us. He was a junior future gamer a couple years back, but just continues to put up good measurables across the board. 6'7", 8 runner, 90 from the outfield, noteworthy bat that looks like it would fit right in the middle of an order, especially a high school order. So, a premier athlete, plays football, high-level football player, just continuing to do his thing. And, same with Gavin Stanislawski, brother Rice, corner infielder. But, man, Gavin keeps impressing. And Peter, I don't know if you wanted to touch on his offense, but
Yeah.
I got to witness some of that, and it was ultra physical from what I saw.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite of the day for sure. It's like you said, it's ultra physical, with some intent to lift, like natural feel to lift. Like he wasn't trying to do it. That's just his stroke. He can lift it with ease. And there's some controlled aggression there, but 102 miles an hour for the EV. And he's just kind of a freak athlete. 6'8", 1 runner. He's going to be one that I think can make an early impact for Brother Rice this spring.
It's kind of nuts he runs a 6'8" with the lower half he's got. He is really, really sturdy. It keeps getting more physical. Kudos to him because he clearly gets after it. And the next guy we want to talk about, same thing. I thought he's transformed his body since I had last seen him. And I know he's also a pretty good football player over there, but Brother Rice, they don't joke around in the weight room or something. Anthony Cardellano, outfielder, I know he was an early tweet for us coming off the event, but what do we have on him?
Yeah, just keeps getting more physical, noticeable strength. I was really in on the swing. I thought it, keeps getting better each time. That's what's really important, right? I think we saw him at Schaumburg this past summer. Thought it was better there, and it was even better this time. Compact with strength on the barrel, up to 97 miles an hour for the EV. And he's a big-time football player, too, from what I understand. So
yeah.
Just bet on that athlete.
Yeah, it looked like a very controlled intent going on offensively with a compact swing and some feel. James Abaldo, JJ Abaldo, Fenwick, 2027 infielder. I remember just throughout the day, we're randomly crossing paths. There's a million things going on when we're trying to run the flow of those events, but I remember Tyler, you specifically mentioning Abaldo's defense.
Yeah, it was my favorite on the day as a whole. And I didn't see all of Underclass, Drew. That was mainly you. But it was without a doubt my favorite defensive showing on the entire day. Just so natural. Probably the most confident glove there. He knew he was going to make every play. He knew he was going to get to every single ball. And he was accurate too. I don't know off the top of my head what his velo was, but sometimes at these events guys will throw accuracy out the window. They're just shooting for a number. That wasn't James in this look. It was very, very accurate, very polished defensive round.
What he's always done for me in the past, too, is he loves to play on the move, and he can get rid of it. He'll show you that quick release from a lower slot going up the middle to his glove side. You get some of those guys that'll go up the middle, and then they'll field it, and they'll crow hop, so they're actually 40 feet away from first when they throw it. But guys that can naturally play the infield, I think it just it's very easy to see. So awesome to see that Abaldo had another big day. He's kind of been every time we see him, we talk about him. That is definitely a guy we need to be out and see this spring. And goes to Fenwick, so we'll be able to knock off him and Josh Morgan at the same time. But speaking of high schools, Libertyville High School, you want to talk about a bright future with some young guys walking through the halls. Like I think the list goes on and on. I'm probably gonna miss some guys here, but like Madden Kotz, we had him at an event for the first time. Ryan Wilberding is a guy that was a super sophomore guy for us last year. Like we've known a lot about him. Matthew Hara took a really notable round of offense for you, Pete. Axel McKnight is also another offensive guy they have. And that's not even to mention like Lockwood. They've got Quinn Shambo up there. They've got Josh Holst. I mean, we could go on, but I know Ryan Wilberding, like he continues to do it. Very hitterish look. Also put up like good measurables kind of everywhere, like 197 pop, 82 from the crouch. Madden Kotz, super interesting to me, like left-handed hitting infielder that's got some measurables. He was a 7.18 runner and 97 exit velocity. And you look at the frame and it's like, whoa, okay, like he's not a big guy, so he clearly knows how to leverage his body. 83 across the infield. So like those were some takeaways on some Libertyville guys, and I'll open it up to you if there's anything else you want to mention there.
No, I thought, Hara and Wilberding hit back to back, and I was just like, all right, man, just two more. I mean, we already knew about Wilberding, but like this Hara kid, like they just got another physical bat. Like they just keep rolling out names left and right. They're going to be a real team to watch this spring. But no, all four of those guys, super interesting for sure.
And Gavin, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but unless you guys have any other 27 position players, I know we'll talk about some as like two-way winners. But before that, like, let's get into some 28s, like those freshmen. There's a couple of them to me that were like just kind of like wow guys. And they don't look like freshmen, especially Quincy Fulton. So I don't know if we want to get on Quincy first, but I guess maybe Carver Cone, top of the class guy. We just saw him at McHenry. Pete, you've now seen him twice in the last 2-3 weeks. Like, same guy, anything different stand out to you?
No, he's a guy. He's, an absolute freak. I loved it from both sides. He doesn't even know which side he likes better, like swinging it, and I don't know which side I like better either. Probably we'll just go left side because, it's more sought after.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lefty swings are always a little prettier.
Yeah, but I mean, it was super loud again, 100 miles an hour for the EV, which is just like, at that size and age, like you're not seeing that very often, especially not in the way that he's creating it, right? It is just whip and twitch. It is not like muscling it up and yanking it pull side. It is just pure athleticism. That's how it should look. And he's a 6'9" runner too.
And then you had Quincy Fulton, who is that ultra physical, like he is fully, he's a man right now as a freshman. Like it's really impressive just seeing him walking around the facility. Left-handed hitter, corner infielder, big juice from both sides, like switch hitter, but
yeah.
I've always really, really liked the lefty. I don't know if one stood out over the other for you.
I agree with you. I like the lefty swing, but I actually thought he took a better round righty today. But I think,
awesome.
It's big juice, but it is, not too much intent either. Like he's under control. The physicality obviously really stands out, though. He's got some of the biggest power potential in the class, probably the country, I would think, just at that size and for his age. But a 98-mile-an-hour EV, 350 max distance, roughly it was 348. We'll round up 2 feet. But no, just always really stands out with the bat, for sure. And I didn't see his defense, but I know he's been a solid defender over there as well.
Yeah, and so Carver Cone goes to McHenry High School. And Quincy Fulton, he goes to Newton. I failed to mention that. So that's a East Central Illinois school, getting down south a little bit, south of south of Mattoon over there and some other cities. But he's going to be a name to know kind of coming through the Illinois ranks here. Cal Backus, Normal Community 2028. We had really, really good notes on him. So we want to make sure we got him a shout out, but a 7.28 runner right now as a freshman. Anybody that had anything on him, feel free to get in there.
Yeah, he didn't stand out metrically, right? I didn't even watch the TrackMan for him. Like, I didn't need to because I love the way it worked. And that's all, like, where I'm really looking at. Like, obviously, we're looking at ball flight. What part of the field are you using? EV matters, but it's not the entire picture, right? Especially at that age. And I was a huge fan of the way it worked. The loose lever is really fluid, and there's a ton of projection there. And he was on the barrel. So the strength will come, but I really liked the way it worked.
we try to limit two-way guys at the preseason All-State to get as many players, into the event as possible. We have limited field space, all that stuff. But with that being said, like, it was kind of remarkable how many 2027s performed well as a position player and as a pitcher. And it's like, okay, you definitely deserved to do both at this event. I think we talked to Owen Murphy a while back in our podcast, and as a freshman, he was a guy that like I had to be harsh on and be like, "Hey, we've heard you're a better arm," so we invited him as an arm, and then here he goes playing for Team USA as an 18U guy, as a position guy. So what do we know? But regardless, that has made me be a little bit kinder with those two-way invites, and we talked about Cash Van Houten a lot from the Peoria event. But goodness gracious, like he keeps doing it. He is, to me, one of the top two-way guys in the state, 2027 out of Canton High School. I don't know if there's much new to talk on about him. Like, Gavin, I see you may want to get in here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same kid that we've seen. But, I mean, he was up to 94 with the fastball at this look. And the other day, he was in Peoria, he was 91 to 92, but he got 94 at this event, so we'd seen that in posts throughout the winter, and he got it at one of our events. So that's ridiculous to a 27 throwing that hard, but yeah,
well,
Cash Van Houten.
Totally ridiculous. Especially he's not like an overly big guy. He's athletic. He's just an athletic, good-looking prospect that I think the thing we've always like kind of noted on him too is, man, he's got the velo, but it's always a lot of strikes. Yeah, like he's athletic and he fills it up. And then I like it a lot as a position guy too. The way he runs the bases, the way he plays on the field, he's got some it factor to him. So he's one of the top 27s in the state and just continues to solidify that. And man, one of the biggest breakouts who we knew we liked. Cash Van Houten was a super sophomore guy last year. Tyler Gluting, another super sophomore guy from last year. He's at Matea Valley, but I'll be honest, he was a candidate for a velo jump. It was a good moving lefty with a live arm, but I didn't see this coming this fast.
Yeah.
So
he was on my mound, and he comes up there, and I get the TrackMan on, turn it live, and first fastball, it said 93 on the TrackMan, and I'm just like, whoa. And I look over at Gel because Gel's doing the camera, and I'm like, dude, I was like, this is 93. And then I'm like, maybe that was just like a misread or something. And then next one, like 92. I'm like, oh my, this kid just made a big jump. Like since we last saw him in the super sophomore game. So yeah, it was electric. A left-handed arm throwing 91 to 93. I think it might have been like 89 to 93. But yeah, it's ridiculous.
No, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's left-handed. Like, you want to put yourself firmly on a future game follow list. Like, come to an event and throw 93 and have feel for off-speed and look the part. But then on top of that, like, go take one of the better rounds of the day in the cage. Left-handed hitter. Like, I was blown away by the swing as well. 94 mile an hour average exit velocity during his round of BP. So Pete, I think you want to maybe get in here a little bit on Gluting, but
well, did you see it? Go ahead. Let it rip.
Well, no, just an impressive all around day, and I did. It's natural lifted contact. He's not trying to elevate the baseball, but like that's just how his path works, and it was gap to gap with authority and how it should look. That's what I had. I was just like, all right, like we got ourselves a true two-way follow for the future games, which is super rare for the future games as well. Like typically guys, aren't that high level doing both things, but we're going to have to see both.
Yeah, I agree. No, it was one of the better rounds of the day. Super impressive. Yeah, big time news too.
Yeah, no, Pete mentioned how, we got eyes at the All-State on guys we knew. Guys we had seen before, and I'll turn this over to you, Gavin, but like this one guy I think was one of the bigger breakout candidates on the day. You look at like the way everything looks with him prospect wise, and then you start factoring, okay, like wow, look at all the tools and like everything he's checking off. But he's right in your neck of the woods, Gavin. I'm going to give you the,
yeah.
Give you the mic on this one.
You definitely saw more hitters than I did throughout the day, but Cole Brent normal U High 2027, was one of the hitters that I saw earlier in the day with the underclass guys. And that left-handed swing, like, I liked it. It was pretty loose, pretty easy. And then the EVs were, he was up to 101 with his EV, and I thought he was one of the biggest winners for me, just that I saw at the plate. But yeah, I mean, I think looking back in his profile, it kind of sparked my memory that he was a guy that I had seen like a video of, because one of our guys saw him at Rantoul, and I liked the left-handed swing in the video, and then finally we get to see him at an event, and the tools were pretty ridiculous, honestly. So he was up to 89 on the mound too, left-handed pitcher. I saw him on the mound, like pretty impressive day for Cole. But Hammond, if you had anything you want to add, or Drew, feel free. But
well, I think my thing was just like, hey, it's great to, have a big exit velocity, all this stuff, but we're looking at, like, who are the athletes, right? Like, who can run, who can jump, who can hit for power, who's got arm strength, who's checking off all these different 5 tools, and man, Cole Brent, like you mentioned it, touching 89 on the mound as well, like, just to cap his day off. Now we're going to have to go see it. There's plenty to see at normal U High, so and just in Bloomington, normal in general, like in normal community, normal U High, there is just normal West. Like Chase Reinhardt was there. We saw the sophomore catcher they had at Peoria the other day. Like, there's going to be a lot of guys to track down in that area, so you'll be plenty busy this spring. But just an awesome day for Cole, and you love to see that. And I guess just moving down the list, like some other two-way guys in the 2027 class that had really strong overall days. Talking as a position guy, checking off a lot of boxes, but then also on the mound, Noah Hallahan at 2027 at Geneva, but then Wade Osment at 2027 from Crystal Lake Central. Either one of you guys, like, anybody can talk on them. But Noah Hallahan, like 710 runner, really looks the part, looks like a stud football player, 99 max exit velocity, 90 from the outfield, 85, 87 on the mound. It's just like a true kind of thoroughbred type, as I like to say, that it's like, all right, this guy checks off a ton of boxes. Like, now we got to see, where is he at from a gameplay standpoint. But yeah, Wade Osment's long been an interesting prospect for me. He's another super sophomore guy last year.
Yeah, Wade was, I saw him on my mound, Crystal Lake Central 2027. And I mean, just the frame really stands out. He's 6'3", 186 pounds. And I think, again, aside from the velo and stuff and the pitches and the off speed, whatever, like, just the way that he moves, super easy, super athletic. And you look at the TrackMan after, he's 87 to 88. Spun the curveball well, averaged 24, 35 RPM, and he threw it with confidence. And then his changeup, had fade. He worked it low in the zone, or kind of maybe not in the zone entirely, but it was just low. But no, it was great to see that. And I mean, I don't think the velo jump was massive compared to what we saw at the super sophomore games, just looking back. But I mean, 87 to 88 from that frame, and it looks like there's more to come still. So I really liked it.
Absolutely.
Well, and both guys are junior future gamers, right? Like, Noah was actually on my team, and Gavin Wade was on yours a couple summers ago. So from where I sit, like, it's really cool to see both of those guys just continue to get better post junior future games, right? You don't want them to be finished products at 13. Like, that hopefully is not when they're at their best, when they're down at JFGs. Like, they just continue to get better. So I think that's a really cool note on both those guys.
Love the call out, because as we move down this list here, we've got 2028 two-way guys that stood out. And he's not the first guy we have listed on our doc, but I thought your transition was too perfect. Like, we got to go to Cole Clower. He was a junior future game guy for us last year. He's a guy that we ranked early in the 28 class. 28 rankings, like, look, we only rolled out 5. It is so early. They're not even playing their high school season yet. Like, we're going to learn a lot in the high school season, but then so much more in the summer and beyond. But man, Cole Clower, we had a lot of confidence in him, especially as a two-way guy, left-handed hitting infielder who is really talented on the mound. And all he did was continue to show us that he worked hard this winter and kind of ticked up all of his tools. I thought he had one of the better showings when you look at all the 28s on the day. So anybody can touch on Clower as well.
Yeah, I mean, Gav, I know you saw this one with me, I believe, but Clower took one of the best rounds of BP of the day for the underclass. 95-mile-an-hour EV, and consistently was on the barrel up the middle of the field. So for that age, super polished, and I just long liked the way the swing works too. But yeah, Gav, go ahead, hop in there if you got anything.
I just wanted to add on the mound, like it's just like a very very minimal effort delivery, and it's repeatable. It was like 84 to 85 touched. I think it really was maxed out at 86 basically. And then I think the polish wasn't entirely there throughout, but I mean he's at 2028. He'll hopefully get that kind of figured out as he moves on. But just looking back at the video I had on my phone, at times his curveball just had like sharp actions with depth, and he would get it in the zone, and he kind of had some feel for it at times. So that's good to see from him. But yeah, I mean a 2028 that moves that easy, and it has that velo, and I mean there's a lot to like there, especially as a two-way.
Gavin, you're talking about sharp breaking balls. And I think that fits into the next guy and what he really stood out doing at our event, like Cannon Baxley. Huge day for him, Canelan 2028. But even before we got on this call today, you're shouting out the breaking ball.
Yeah.
And that's also like just, I don't want to go on a tangent here, but that's definitely something we look at. So there's a lot of ways you can project on guys, but when you start looking at these young arms, almost throw away the radar gun to a certain extent. Like, hey, guys that have big velo, great. But, like, if you're looking to project on a guy, now Cannon Baxley, he's already 84, 87. But those guys that maybe are good movers, have a clean arm, quick arm, maybe they're 77 miles an hour. But then you look at the breaking ball. You know, how do they spin it? How firm is the breaking ball? What's the RPM? And that can be a really, really good indicator on like, all right, this guy's a candidate to see his velo climb real quick. But yeah, get in there because Baxley, man, a huge day for him. He was a guy we saw in the summer at some tournaments, and to get him in an event, get his measurables, like it's going to be a lot easier now to have a ton of confidence on him.
Yeah, Canelan 2028. I mean, like you said, Drew, fastball is up to 87. But I mean, when he was on my mound, I didn't see this in event because, you know, again, I wasn't really focusing too much on the TrackMan. But he averaged 3,096 RPM on his curveball. Like, that is absurd. I'm sure that if you look at it across the country, that's probably one of the top average spin rates. And
that's for any class too.
Yes,
you could look at 25s. There's nobody spinning breaking balls like that.
Yeah, and then on average, he had a negative 19.7 IVB, which I don't think I've seen that too much with a breaking ball. Like, that is, again, just straight down. Like, that is disgusting. And then the slider was 77 to 78, and he averaged 2580 RPM on it. So high spin, velo's there out of a 2028. Like, again, just another guy, like, you got to keep following that. Like, that's just absurd numbers on the mound for a guy like that. But, Pete, if you want to add to him at the plate, feel free.
Sure. I was going to add about the IVB thing. The most important part of that is, like, it was a firm breaking ball, right? It was, like, mid-70s, if I'm remembering correctly, and which makes that IVB that much better. Like, the more negative it can be with higher velo, the better it is. And, I mean, obviously, the spin will tell you it's a great pitch, but, like, that just even further, you know, complements that and confirms that. But no, I thought it was a really good round as well. There's definitely some noticeable bat speed. I thought it was like he's got some twitch to him as well, which makes sense why he's able to spin the breaking ball that well. But I thought he worked on the barrel. Definitely some strength. He was up to 98 miles an hour for the EV. So big day for Cannon. Super happy for that kid.
Yeah, and it looks like we got Isaiah Walter on here. He was a 2028 from Oswego East. And the notes we have, Drew, if you want to hop in, go ahead.
Yeah, either way. I was kind of running the catcher defense on the day, and he stood out to me behind the plate. And yeah, he had a big arm, right? Like, he was 80 from the crouch as a freshman. That's going to stand out, of course. Like, I noticed the arm, but to me, it was more the way he was moving, getting out of the crouch, the glove to hand, the repeatability, the athlete. Really stood out to me. Like, he's very toolsy, and I just thought it was kind of dynamic behind the plate for a freshman. 191 low pop, 84, 87 on the mound as well. Like, he's just a toolsy freshman to keep our eyes on, one to watch. It'll be interesting to see, like, when he impacts Oswego East. That's a bigger school. They get plenty of talent coming through there, like the Jackson Tuckers of the world. So we'll see Dominic Batista as well. I know we'll talk on him later about upper class, but no, Isaiah Walter, kind of the next big guy, big name at least coming through Oswego East. So yeah, you want to get in on all the arms on the day?
Yeah.
I think now moving
Yeah.
forward and kind of like how the day went, like a huge chunk of our day was the arms. We transitioned from the underclass to the upper class actually at the event, and just kind of natural to talk about it that way, I guess.
Yeah, I think for me, just looking back at it, the arms were pretty mind blowing, to be honest. Like, just how talented the state all across the board is with the pitching through every class that we saw there. But, I mean, the first one we got to talk about is, unless you want to say anything before I say
No. I'm gonna give you the floor, but just like whatever, being the like Illinois staff here for prep baseball, like it fires me up. The amount of talent that is just continuing to come through the state, like it's exciting now to be like, all right, we're like this spring, like, oh, we get to go track down this guy. We get to go track down this guy. And I cannot wait for the conversations, when you guys are going to a certain game and we want to hear how a player did or how he looked. So, just really the state is in such good shape when it comes to talented prospects coming through. But yeah, and arguably the most talented kid to come through the state in a while as a freaking sophomore right now. Let's get him.
Yeah, Brady Bunick. Drew, you saw it. You were locked in behind the mound watching him, and I was peeking over and just I'll let you speak on it. But that first fastball, I was like, whoa, that's different. So go ahead.
I think you just hit it like it was different. I was just like, this cannot be a sophomore in high school. We've been doing these events for a long time, and we've had guys come and put on shows. And I think Xander Muth was like one that really put on a show for us a couple years back, where Dunk and Steve were there, and it was just like this is on another level. We've had the Ryan Sloans of the world come through. Brady Bunick is a star in the making. And right now, our 27 class, like we love, Sushi Wilson at number 1. He just went to IMG. He's playing down there this spring. If he stays down there, he'll move out of the Illinois rankings. He'll go to the Florida rankings. We have to give it some time. But then you look down the list, like, okay, who could be the new number 1? Man, Caden Wozniewski has been like the guy. He does it all. He performs. He's got mega tools. He's a two-way guy. To me, it was a surefire. Like he'll easily slot in at number 1. But with what Brady Bunick did, it's almost too special to not be number 1. Now we're gonna have to go see it in the spring. We'll see what happens. We'll see where we end up deciding. Regardless, I don't care where he fits in the state. He is a top national guy in the country. He was cruising 93, 95. The ball explodes out of his hand. He's got a workhorse. I mentioned Ryan Sloan. Like he is the next like up and coming Ryan Sloan. Like he's got the workhorse starter build. He's got 3+ pitches. His slider had all kinds of like late hard horizontal bite. And then he was throwing a splitter that had like just nasty, like not tumble. It almost acts like a changeup. Like it's got late hard dive to it, and he had feel. Like it was down in the zone, and it had good arm action. Like he sold it. But man, like if he can harness his stuff, harness his slider, repeat, be in the zone, he's gonna be one of the top arms in the country. So it was a special performance, Gavin.
Can I just want to, you guys are probably more like when it comes to analytics or like pitching, maybe you know a little bit more than I do. So it's more of a question, I guess. Because one thing that I noticed just watching the video was like his arm slot is like, it's kind of like at a lower slot. Is that right? It's then more of like a 3/4 slot. So I cannot imagine like as a hitter seeing it come out of that slot at 93 to 95. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that would be incredibly hard to hit as a hitter.
And I think the thing that really, like, regardless maybe of, like, the slot, he's a guy where it's kind of just everything is smooth, and then it explodes out of the hand. Those guys sometimes really, really blow you away because everything's, like, easy, and then holy cow, it gets on you. I've never seen a livelier fastball come out of a sophomore's hand. Like the amount of just like life there, it's so easy to imagine him throwing 100. Like that's what it honestly looked like. So no, tough at bat, especially like he doesn't strike me as a guy that has like total polish to his stuff yet, so you don't really know where it's going. And that makes it a little scary as well. Especially for a guy with a body type like I do. Like I'll be in the hospital if I wear one of those off the back. So no, Brady. He definitely is a guy that I I don't remember seeing a more special bullpen out of a sophomore. So that's probably enough on him. But goodness, right behind him is another guy, Brady Cunningham. And Brady Bunick was a guy we invited to super sophomore games last year as well. Brady Cunningham was another guy that went down there. Brother Rice, like they've got a really strong 2027 class. Hammett just saw, Cunningham at Chicago put on an absolute show with the bat, from a feel to hit, but also physicality and juice standpoint. And then, man, Brady Cunningham, like I think Steve Nielsen had him on his mound, and like his notes were just barrel chested, like, coming right at you. Like I think he really liked the intent on the mound during his bullpen. And he was up to 91, best we've seen out of him, and just a guy that keeps climbing. And it's going to be so hard. Like, we could say Brady Cunningham is like his stock is climbing, and there's other guys, Cash Van Houten, his stock is climbing. Colin Schweigen continues to show well, but like when you actually get into the rankings, how are we going to move these guys up? I don't know, because guy like Tyler Gluting, who's maybe behind him, he's a 94 mile an hour lefty, 93 mile an hour lefty. So like he's going to have to go up somewhere. So like whether they actually climb on the list or just as their prospect status, like I don't care where they are on the list. Like they are climbing. And you love to see it because they keep getting better. And then we're going to move on down to a 2028 here. When we start talking about POs or just pitchers. And Postma actually came as a two-way guy, but what he did on the mound, I just think kind of elevates him into that, like, whoa, his arm could be, above him as a position player right now. Like his arm was so special. So Gavin, get in there on that 28 there. I didn't really give the info on him.
No, he right-handed pitcher, Jack Postma, Barrington, 2028. I think we would all probably agree on this. Like the first thing you notice is just the frame. And I didn't know how tall he actually was until I went back and looked into his profile this morning, but we have him listed at 6'3", 186 pounds. And the levers, it's super long levers, super wiry, high waist. Like there's just so much upside still to come in that frame. And you kind of watch him just with his frame, like walk around and you're not, I personally was not sure like how clean and repeatable can this be on the mound when he gets there? Like, is it going to be like polished? Can he control his levers yet? And he did on the mound. Like it was really impressive for that frame, how well he moves. And it's just super easy. He extends down the mound. And the fastball is 87 to 87 to 89 miles an hour out of a lower slot. He had quality changeup with fade, and then he also threw like a curveball that had some pretty good action on it as well. But there's all kinds of upside in his frame. Like I am super excited to see him in 3 years, and honestly just see his progression each year, not only with his pitchability and polish and velo and things like that, but just the frame and how it continues to trend as the years go on. But feel free, hop in here if you got anything.
No, it really looked the part. Like really looked the part of a high level 2028. I saw a couple fastballs come out of the hand, and just the way he kind of gets, it's almost out front and on top of the fastball, and the extension, and like the way he was driving it down into the zone, I was really, really in on from the side. And I think you said it, like the way he controls his levers as a freshman for being that long levered, like that just tells me, man, this kid he's going to have it really figured out as he continues to just physically grow into his body. And he's only going to get stronger. Like he's only going to get stronger, and he's only going to get more coordinated as he gets older and kind of just comes into his own. So super exciting bullpen out of him. Like, man, you want to talk about a huge winner coming off the day. I think he's right at the top of the list. Another 2028, and I think he might have been on your your mound, Tyler, and I'm jumping past one guy here, but just since we're on 28s, Ethan Johnson, left-hander.
Yeah, out of Lake Zurich. For me, it was just like really polished for a freshman. Through as far as being able to fill the zone with all three of his pitches, it's left-handed, so that automatically checks a box there. But he was running up to 83 with the fastball. But one thing I want to note there is we had him at our Rising Stars games last May, and he was topping out at 77. So he's had a 6 mile an hour jump in not even a year. So he's clearly been putting in some work, whether that be in the weight room or just, pitching development training, whatever. But a name to watch this spring for Lake Zurich. We were kind of talking offline, like they do already have some arms there, whether it's Cole Kenyon or Colin Chung, who was another participant for the upper class. But Coach Mano there, man, he's got some arms to play with this spring.
Yeah, they should be a fun group to watch, especially with this kind of just being his first year, getting his hands on that club just to see what they can do. I know he likes a lot of their pieces and it's early and stuff like that, but hey, there were some other 2027s. I know we've talked about a lot of guys, and what's crazy, Gavin, and everybody, is like we could go on for days. Like we had to be super strict on who we're talking about here and where we cut it off, and there's a lot of guys that deserve to be mentioned, but Matt Ritchie's been a name we've been hearing for a while that made a velo jump last fall. Really, really good looking prospect. Also showed well as a position guy. I think he got an early tweet from us, but like what he does on the mound is super interesting, giving St. Charles North a pretty good piece there to work with. But Matt Ritchie, St. Charles North, 2027, currently ranked number 24 in Illinois. And Gavin, did you have him on your mound?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention 6'2", 160-pound frame, athletic, stronger build, and the fastball is 87 to 89. He's a quick mover. He got a clean arm, and he's one to know in that 27 class. And Drew, honestly, if I can just go to Austin Wingy too, if you don't mind.
Perfect.
Really quick. And,
yeah.
Just another 27, right-handed arm from Lockport, sat 90 to 92. It was a quick, it's kind of similar to Richie, just a really quick athletic mover, but with Wingy, I didn't think it was like an efforty, like intentful. Like it was intentful, but it wasn't like efforty. He just moved very quick down the mound, but it was controlled. So I thought that was pretty impressive too.
Well, I mean, we've got a couple other 2027s here, and we're going to be busy tracking these guys down. And Traxton Roberts, Armstrong, down there, Central Illinois, just outside of Champaign. He's long been a super interesting guy for us, Tyler, and a guy that we've been tracking and putting him kind of in the back end of the rankings, waiting for that velo jump, knowing it's going to come because he's got those long levers. But how'd he show?
Really well. Obviously, why I'm going to talk about him real quick, but no, I mean, Gavin, I hope you're keeping a running list of all the arms we're going to make you track down in Central Illinois this spring, because he might be right towards the top for me. Really, really quick arm. Like you said, the velo's finally starting to come. He was at this event last year and really impressed as well. So he's definitely put in some work. Everything's really starting to tick up. Spun both the fastball and the breaking ball. He was up to 88 with the fastball, but just for sure a guy we're gonna have to see this spring.
Well, and then Cooper Holman was a guy that popped that. Man, you want to talk about guys we didn't have a ton on before this, and I believe he's a multi-sport guy down there at Wilmington, but Cooper Holman, Wilmington, 2027, right-handed arm, 6'3", 194, just another guy up to 90. It seemed like every guy was sitting upper 80s. And what's beautiful about that is so many guys had velos, so many guys had stuff, then you can be okay, what's actually clean? Who's got the secondary? Who does it easy? Who's in the zone? Who's repeating? Who's got the frame that's going to add on more? It was just so good to see all these guys in one setting and really be able to compare them in one spot on the same day. And man, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing for what we do. But yeah, Cooper Holman, curveball for strike, showed a deceptive changeup. Cooper Johnson, another 2027 arm, Lincoln Way East, that kind of seeing videos of him throughout the winter with his velo going up, but he was up to 86. I think you had him, Tyler, so I won't. 6'2", 183, another kind of imposing frame like Cooper Holman.
Well, and honestly, I was surprised to see his height was only 6'2". Like I could have swore he played bigger than that. Like if I would have looked at his profile the other day and saw 6'4", 6'5", I would have believed you. Like I went up to shake his hand after his pen, and like he has some huge hands. Like bear paws. Like it took me by surprise when he shook my hand. So there's probably more to go there with the frame. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he's not done growing. But man, the thing that stood out with Cooper was everything moved. Like his fastball, ton of run, breaking ball, 12 inches of horizontal movement. He could also throw the curveball for strikes at 80%. So, and then also the changeup was like a true changeup, at least in my opinion, with like real sink and fade to it. So no, I really liked Cooper. It was a name I hadn't heard of. Like he's at Lincoln Way East. They're perennially a really good school. So I'll be interested to see if he gets innings on varsity this spring.
Well, and a couple more names, like Russell Hangles, Maine South is a name that I've really liked just from the videos I saw in the fall, and then he came back, was 86, 88 at this event. Brody Leibel was a Glenbard North 2027 that showed some velo, another guy that we're going to need to be out to see. Two freshmen that I believe we really liked, and kind of like as a two-way guy for Peter Pignatello, Bennett, the velos, yet to come. And I say that like he's low 80s as a freshman. Like that's high velo for a freshman. But when you start talking about it in this environment, top of the class type stuff, he's got bigger velo yet to come. But we really like him. Left-hand hitting infielder, going to Bennett. Jay Baird was another one that we liked as well, the way he moved and pitched. And man, like I said, there's probably so many other names we can mention here, Gavin.
Yeah.
But
and we'll have all those in the quick hits, like we're going to have a lot more information coming out. So just don't forget to look at our website to catch up with that once that starts coming out here, maybe later in the week. But yeah,
and just because you're not mentioned on this doesn't mean you didn't have a great day.
Yeah.
You could have had an outstanding day. You could move up in the rankings, and we had to cut it off at some point. So.
I feel like if for real, we could have probably talked for like 6 hours on this if we really wanted to. But
yes.
But one thing I wanted to mention before we go to upper class is obviously we don't have anything with our future games team solidified. But just after this weekend and already having like that 27 follow list that we have, it's like bring it on, other states. That's all I got.
Totally.
Like, we have like a loaded 27 class that whoever's on that future games team, like it's going to be good. I know that much.
We're going to have some velo to throw at them. If these guys stay the same or even get better by the time late July comes.